How you doing? So here I'm talk about relics. So what are relics, right? If you notice when it comes to my voice, I'm a little bit sick. I have a sore throat. Um, you know, not that you care to know, but on Halloween I decided to go out. You know, whether it was the right thing or not. I have no regrets whatsoever. But because in the past month I was working really hard. That's why I haven't made any videos when it comes to the relic because I've been pretty busy with work. So I decided for Halloween I want to go out, man. I've been working so hard. I know I deserved it. So I went to a nightclub. Probably got I'm not 100% sure if I had the COVID flu, but from going out to a nightclub, you know how it is when you're like with a bunch of people, right? They're right in your faces. There's a good chance you can get the COVID flu. But I'm young and I'm healthy, so I'm going to be fine. So I've been wanting to make this video for a while now. And as I mentioned, because of work, I've been so busy that I haven't had to. So what is a relic? So basically, um, it gives like an extra. It's basically an extra synergy. And the good thing about this relics is it doesn't take a slot from your team. So it's basically your sixth slot or even seventh slot, depending on which relic you use in your team. So it's really like a really good synergy. And it, like I mentioned, it doesn't take a slot in your team. That's just basically what a relic is. Some people like it, some people don't. So, what is this? And usually, when I talk about something being overpowered, like OP and stuff, they end up getting nerfed when it comes to like new champions, buff champions, or synergy champions. And what do you know? The relics got nerfed before I can make a video on it. But it is what it is, you know. And let's talk about it. So let's talk about give you my top 7 champions in relics that are going to be overpowered, and I'll give you some my honorable mention as well. So let's talk about my, start with number 1. This actually got the biggest nerf out of all of them, and it's still overpowered because there's a difference between broken champions or that's overpowered. Broken is really not good for the game. I usually like champions that are overpowered, but broken, it's not good for the game. Let's look at it. This before they nerfed it, it was overpowered. This was overpowered. It was broken, not overpowered. And like I mentioned, when you look at champion that is broken in MCOC, it's Diablo. He's like the most broken champion in the game. When you can auto fight round with legends with a 5-star or even like quest using a 5-star Diablo, it's like that's just broken, right? And when you have so many champions that can do that, it's not good for the game because what's the point of having, quest in the game or side quest? There'd be no challenge to it. You just go to quest, press auto fight. What's the point of doing that? I mean, that's just a broken champion that they need to fix. It's not healthy. That's why I think it was okay for the nerf when it comes to this relic. As far as using who, can you guys guess? Using Angela, but with Odin synergy. So you need Odin synergy for this to be powerful with Angela. So synergies is part of the game, which I'm okay with. You also do, probably the biggest con about this for Angela is you do need to win fights. But if once you keep winning fights, this synergy is literally broken for Angela before they nerfed it. And it's still the most overpowered relic in the game, even though it had the biggest nerf. Because let me tell you why. If you're not familiar with Angela, I have plenty of videos with Angela in my channel. So basically with Odin Synergy, she gets 5% buff potency on her buffs when she wins fights. Not just her personal buffs, all buffs. So so think about that. And I've said before many times, if she wins like 30 fights, that's 150% buff potency on her buffs. She's the best champion in the game. With this relic, it pretty much increases the potency by double at least before the nerf. Maybe even the nerf, it will double the potency on her buffs. Who knows? But it's not just her buffs, it could be any buffs. And look at this right here, the last hit grants an aptitude buff, increasing the potency of Fury, armor ups, and precision buffs by 18.41% for 16 seconds. So keep in mind, it says aptitude buff. So it says 18.41%, but that can be double, triple, quadruple that depending on how many times you win with Angela using Odin synergy. So it's going to increase that even more. So let's look at this. What got nerfed? When all three aptitude passes are active, gain an indefinite intensified buff, increasing the potency of fortitude buff by 14%. That used to be 24%. Now it's 14. So basically, they almost cut her damage in half. Almost. Not quite, but close to half what it used to be. It used to be 24% before they nerfed it, which is a pretty big nerf for this synergy, because that's understandable because it was broken. Another thing is, I'm not going to go through everything because it will take me over an hour to make this video. And I was going to show you side by side pictures before how what the data was before, or what you can do is obviously just go to MCOC, you know, type in MCOC Relics on YouTube, check out TCP Access. They have videos on it, what it used to be, or I can just tell you what it is. So basically what the future bus used to be was, it was 24% before the nerf. So this is, keep in mind, this is a rank 2 relic. So one thing I want to say is, I expected this to be nerfed. That was inevitable. I knew that was bound to happen. I thought to myself, if this was a rank 5, you know, damage wise, potential potency, I would be okay with it, Rank 5, the only downside to that is, how long will it be by the time we'll have a rank 5 relic? 3 to 5 years from now? Who knows if I'll still be playing MCOC by then. So I think I'm kind of disappointed I won't be able to see that true damage potential, because they nerfed it, and by the time we get rank 5, it'll be a long time for now, and who knows if I would be playing MCOC by then. So let's go to a thing and they nerf. So when gaining indefinite fury buff, replace the figure with the figure buff, increasing damage dealt to the opponent from all sources. Keep it at all sources by 10.8%. That used to be 12% for 12 seconds. Now it's 10.8%. It was 12% before the nerf. So keep in mind, this is from all sources, whatever damage you could be doing to the opponent. And think about it, it's a buff. Important thing, it's called vigor buff. So it's going to increase the potency even more with the Odin synergy using Angela. That's why it was so OP. And this one, I don't think, as far as I know, I don't think that they didn't nerf it, so I'm assuming it's not working like I thought it would be. Like the 42 buff reducing damage from all sources by 14.4%. That is still the same, I believe. I don't think the potency on that increases, because that will literally break the game. So imagine if you were like in zone 20, you won like 60 fights with Angela or something like that, zone 20 plus, you have plus 300% buff potency. This would be like close to 60% buff potency. You'd be like Thing. Thing, what do you call, oh, not quite as strong as Sting, but almost like a Sting, Thing reduction damage. That would be too broken. You'd be beating, if that was the case, you'd be beating like zone 20 plus, with a 6-star rank 5 Angela, maybe 6-star rank 4 Angela with one finger, like pretty much like the hardest thing in the game. So that way, I don't think that's supposed to work like that. I think it's gonna stay 14.40% reduction for all the fights, regardless how many fights you win. And that's a good thing, I think, because that would be broken. So if it did do that, so that was number 1. That was the most overpowered relic in the game so far. So who knows, that they might come up with newer ones, but this is going to be hard to top. They did nerf it though. So let's go with number two. The Storm Relic. So this one, it wasn't super overpowered. I mean, doubling your champion's damage with a relic isn't like super game breaking, but it is pretty OP, I would say. But why this is such a broken relic is for Kitty Pride. Kitty Pride is already overpowered without synergy. But if you double her damage with with this relic, basically if you double her damage with a synergy, it's gonna make her broken, And relic, if you guys don't know, relic is pretty much what as a synergy. The good thing about it, it doesn't require a slot in your team, so you can bring it where there's no synergy involved. So which is great. Why relic is great. I know some people don't like it because it's more things the game they have to worry about and more money probably, blah blah blah. So I can understand that. But let's talk about it. So what did they nerf? They actually nerfed this as well. So it used to be zero point 0.8 prowess effect potency. Now it's 0.4% prowess potency, max stack of 10. So 10, it was 8%. A prowess effect potency, now it's 4%. So they cut it in half. But I don't think that was the biggest thing they cut. So I knew there was something, I'm not sure which one it was particularly. I believe it was the gain of rampage buff, increasing attack rating while unblockable. It was 809%. But I'm pretty sure that was just a typo. I saw that in other relics as well. And I know Nick 136 thought it was bug, but I thought it was just a typo. I don't think that was the one that's bug. I mean, it practically, the relic doubled the damage of Kitty Pride. And you don't have to be a mathematician to know that increasing your attack by over 800%, that's gonna be more than double the attack. So I'm pretty sure it was just a typo when it says 809%. You can go to Nick 136, check it out. Like I mentioned, I wanted to show you guys pictures, but that will take even longer to make this video. So you can go check out the other CCP access when it comes to relics, or you can just trust my word for it. It used to be 809%, but it was just a typo, I believe. What could have been a typo or maybe not, when it comes to lowering energy resistance, it was 127% negative, and that would have been pretty broken. Pretty OP for Kitty Pryde, because she's already OP. I believe, like I said many times, Kitty Pryde is like the best champion in game for skill player, assuming you know how to play her. Negative 127% lowering energy resistance is basically like Hawkeye before he got nerfed. He got a buff, then they said he was too overpowered, so they nerfed him. When it comes to his lowering physical resistance, it was going over negative over 100%, so they nerfed it. So that could have been a typo, because it was negative 127%. Maybe they meant to say 127%, or just 127, not percent. Which is there's a difference between 127 and 127%. I believe 127 is practically minus 720 right there by percentage wise. So they nerfed that big time, or that was just a typo. So another typo I would say is here. So it says here, the next unblockable hit grants a rampage passive, increasing attack rating while unblockable by 36.01. I believe they meant to say by percent, not by attack wise, because getting attacked by 36 is nothing at all. So that would not be helpful for a relic. So I think that should be percent. So this was pretty much broken synergy because of Kitty Pryde being an overpowered champion. It pretty much doubled her power. Like I mentioned, they did a minor nerf when it comes to prowess effect potency. I don't know if this was those intention. When it comes to energy resistance, it was negative 127%, which pretty much doubled her damage. Maybe was just a typo, I'm not sure. They did give her a slight nerf when it comes to impact potency, so we'll see when we see some gameplay. So that was number 2. So let's look at number 3, which is the most powerful champions in the game with the relics. So do 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 do. So who do you guys think it is? And do you guys have a champion you think is gonna be overpowered? So this one with Juggernaut relics with Dragon Man. So they did nerf this too. Wow, what a surprise! Something I said in Karate Mike's video, cause he has a 6-star rank 4 Dragon Man, and people were like, "What a waste of resource." And I said, "Kabam, Mike works for Kabam. He knows how overpowered relics are, and with this relics with Dragon Man, this is gonna be make him OP. It's gonna make him increase his attack. It'll make him more, you know, sustainable. Probably like Diablo's level when it comes to sustainability. So so basically gain a berserker buff increasing attack rating by 18.41% for modified attack while unstoppable for 16 seconds. So that's decent. So what happened here? What did they nerf? Used to be plus 6% of modified attack and damage of unstoppable hits, max up to 10 times. So that used to be 60%. Now it's only 30% at max attack of 10. So they did reduce that. So it is plus 0.8% buff potency though. That's good. So they did nerf his damage wise. It was one of those really good damage increase wise, but now it's just one of those. It's better than nothing increase attack wise. I mean, it's still better than nothing, but I think mostly for Dragon Man, you gotta be like, that is nice. He doesn't really hit very hard, so an increased attack definitely would be helpful for Dragon Man. But what's really gonna make him, I think, overpowered is when it comes to his regeneration. Like he gains what do you call this? Gaining on top of event grants and attempts by passive increasing the potency of future buffs by 9.6%. So that's really OP if you gain buffs from certain nodes or certain synergies maybe. Also, he's a defensive tank champion. That means he'll get an extra 5% of bar of power, which is great. Will you be able to go to SP3, which you really want to do with Dragon Man? Spam SP3, especially if you're running damage mastery. The good thing about it is when you spam SP3 with Dragon Man, he becomes this such a tanky champion. And then, if you have recovery mastery and you have this thing right here with the relic, it's going to increase his recovery even more. So he's going to be either maintaining the same health, if not gaining more health than he lost when he's his SP3 with his relic. So this is going to make him super sustainable. As you can see here, he gains increased regeneration rate by 9.6%, plus he defensive tank. He gets another regenerative passive recovery 1.5%, max HP for over 2 seconds. You also here you get another 1.2% regeneration effect potency. So I heard his potency when it comes to regeneration is gonna be pretty insane. I believe it's gonna be make him overpowered for sure. So this was number 3 as far as the most overpowered relic in the game as far as champion wise. Keep in mind you need to be able to use you can still use any champion in the game for this, but it has to be the same class. So not just Dragon Man can use this relic. It's just another mystic. It can only be a mystic champion though. So let's look at number 4. This was actually my number 3rd most powerful synergy in the game, but since they nerfed it, I think it's just number 3 now. Where is it at? Where are you at? It's the Wolverine. Can you guess who it is for? It's Cable. This thing for Cable, it was overpowered. They nerfed it as well. What do you know? I think my top 5 or top 6, top 5 or top 6, all of them got nerfed when it comes to the relics. It's just crazy, but it is still just overpowered. That's how OP it was before. How OP it was before they nerfed it. So let's talk about this one. So gain a regeneration buff, increasing regeneration rate by plus 0.69% for 7 seconds. So one thing about Cable, especially with synergies, he's so sustainable. I think he was the most sustainable champion in the game before Diablo got a buff. I mean, today I still think he can be one of the most sustainable. It could be up there with Diablo with this synergy, because he has he could Cable could be 100% bleed resistant and 100% poison resistance with synergy. I don't think any champion in the game is both. I think even like when this senior came along, he was the only champion in the game that was 100% poison resistant. So you would constantly heal from like liquid courage. Also this can make him 100% bleed resistant. So if you're constantly bleeding, you're gonna deal damage to your opponent. Not only that, if they're not robot, I believe, and he's going to be healing like a healing machine. Just with the bleed and the poison alone, if you had that constantly in you, you're going to be healing with synergy. Being a horseman, he's going to be healing like 1.6% health per second, which is a lot. And that's just through willpower. And he also has his regeneration to keep in mind. Okay, he has, and then with this synergy, he's going to increase his regeneration rate. What else? That's pretty much that it. And then in the effect of the generation as well. And with synergies, he can actually increase his regeneration rate with like, I believe, with obviously becoming a horseman, increasing ability accuracy, also with warlock in your team, and you should be able to increase that with the white magneto synergy as well. So what I was kind of disappointing on was this was a pretty big nerf. Is when it comes to the damaging debuffs, it used to be 20% a max stack of 3. Now it's just 10% max stack of 3. So before the nerf, it was 60%, damaging debuff up to 60%, which is for Cable, most of his damage, if you have Apocalypse Synergy, is from his damage over time. So adding 60% to that damage will make him hit like a truck. Now adding 30% to it is one of those, yeah, it's better than nothing. He got an extra boost in attack, but mostly it's going to be increasing his regeneration rate, which will make him sustainable. So this was my number 3 first before they nerfed it, but now it's number 4 on the list. So let's go with number 5. It's going to be Tech. Can you guess who it is for? It's going to be Nebula. With this synergy, with this relic, and you can say it's synergy. It's basically the same, but better, I think. So inflict a shock born with debuff, increasing the potency of shock effects by 4.6%. And then also here, when the opponent has been affected with a 10 of total shock, inflict a 9 stack energy vulnerability passive, lowering energy resistance by 6% for 15 seconds. This used to be 12% with a max stack of 3. I don't know if that was intentional, but I'm pretty sure it was 12%, and it was also you can max stack of 3, so it could have been up to 36%, reducing energy resistance. And they nerfed it, which was pretty a big deal. But it's still gonna make Nebula overpowered. So I do believe this is definitely bugged, because I saw some gameplay from Nick the 136 when it comes to this with Nebula. You can tell by the duration, obviously, but the potency as well, that it wasn't working as intended. My 6-star rank 3 with synergy, running damage mastery with Nebula, can do over 500,000 damage with 1 SP2. With a 6-star rank 4 with full synergy and damage mastery, you'll be able to do over 1,000,000 damage with this relic. And that's not even including shock vulnerability, as well as power shield node or flare node, that any nodes that increase your attack. Even without synergy, maybe you can do over 1,000,000 damage just with those things alone. So this is gonna make Nebula going to be hit super hard when it comes to this SP2. They did nerf the energy resistant, reducing energy resistance, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So let's go with, as you can see, increase the shock debuff potency, which is great for Nebula. So let's do some honorable mention. Let's talk about, since we're here, let's talk about Infinity Iron Man. Infinity Iron Man is one of the most underrated champion in the game. I think because he does rely on synergies. But, That's what makes him really like underrated champion. But he is going to get a buff. He's not gonna be overpowered when it comes to the relics. As far as I know, who knows how his buff is gonna be? That's to be determined. But the good thing about when it comes to Iron Man Infinity War is he can use either one, the Vision Relic, which is gonna be helpful against champion that can regen. So this, if you're against champion that can regen, this is really good for Iron Man Infinity War. This one you should use. But the only downside to this is there's not many champions in the game that can regen. But it is a pretty decent synergy or relic for Iron Man Infinity War. This will increase his damage and increase the duration of the heal block, which is pretty decent because see, as you can see here, what is it? You gain a heal block and it will inflict a burst of X amount of modified attack energy damage burst. So that's good. Extra damage right there. And also, what else? This was a buff or nerf. You can say whatever, you can call it what you want. It used to be healing of once the opponent has been prevented from healing 32%. So the good thing is now 16% because 32%, that's a lot to be able to heal block opponents. So it's good they reduced it to 16%. But the downside is the damaging effects. It was 12%, now it's 6% of max stack of 3. So it used to be 12%. So you can say that's a nerf or a buff. I feel like it's more of a slightly buff or neutral because it's good now they cut it in half when it comes to healing, how much it will take an effect, how much heal block you would affect on the opponent. So yeah, more damage, more heal block in fact, what do you call that? You also gain a Fury passive if when the what do you call that? Inflict the heal blocking effect on an opponent with a regeneration effect will trigger a Fury passive, increasing attack by 72% modified attack for 15 seconds, plus 0.48 per Fury potency if the heal block is passive. So this is gonna give him really a good extra boost when it comes to Iron Man Infinity War. There's a few tech champion as well as plus 4.8 incinerate, poison shock, plasma infect, potency, which is great. Having increased block proficiency on opponent heal block is also not a bad thing. So another honorable mention I want to say is Bishop. Like I mentioned, these two champions, when it comes to honorable mention, they don't get the best. They might not be the most overpowered when it comes to the relics for them, but they have an advantage because with Bishop, he can become unblockable. So it says right here, gain a rampage buff, increasing attack rating while unblockable. So Bishop can gain unblockable. Also, Bishop has an ability to regen, so he can also use the Striker Wolverine relic. So it's not gonna be overpowered for like Kitty Pryde, or like if it was like Cable with the Wolverine relic. But the good thing about it for Bishop, he can use both of the relics, and it's gonna benefit him. So what do you guys think about relics? So you're probably thinking, what is a relic? If you haven't pay attention much to MCOC, you probably don't know what it is. So when I watch a lot of YouTube videos when it comes to relics, a lot of people are questioning how did they get the relic, how did they make Storm appear in the game, where did you get the relic, or this and that. Hopefully, when it's in the future, when relics do come out, you have more information about it. Right now, it's just it's just coming into the game. It's just a bunch of beta at this point. Thank you.